Hey, what's going on, guys? It is the SMT. Thanks for tuning in to watch this edition of the channel. We have day 5 of the T-Mobile and Sprint merger trial. It's pretty much wrapped up. We got tons of information to go over. Things are starting to heat up. Things are getting pretty eventful. There's a lot of key dialogue and testimony that's going on, and I got all the details for you guys today, and there's tons to reveal. A lot of it covers the history of what's been going on for the last several years behind closed doors with T-Mobile and Sprint and Dish as well as some other MVNO stuff. Before I get to it, I do want to do a couple of quick shout-outs. Big shout-out to Sean. Thank you for your PayPal donation. Much appreciated, and thanks for contributing to the channel. Also, shout-outs to Discord gang. Shout-outs to the Patreons over on the Patreon page. Check those links out in the description box. If you want to get involved with the communities, there are links there. And also, I got the Twitter handle as well as the podcast links. They're available for you guys if you want to check them out. The SMT Weekly Report. We're on Spotify. We're on Google Podcasts, all the major podcasting apps. So check those links out down there. Let's get to the details of today's merger trial proceedings. So on the stand today, we had John. Something interesting is John's personality remains unchanged. He is who we think he is. He's loud, he's boisterous, he's witty, he's clever, and he's slick. You know, he's a lot of things. For some reason, the judge did not allow coffee in the courtroom today. Thought that was kind of interesting to note. Anyways, on the stand, when John was asked several questions, he was asked about the 4-3 text message or comment that he was accused of saying. He said he would never use the term 4-3 in reference to the consolidation of carriers, so he denied that. And he mentioned once that he wasn't going to be answering certain questions yes or no because the nature of the questions. John was focused on Sprint's shortcomings and how they would fail without some form of a merger or some form of a change in their business plan, and they just, in the cards in the future, they couldn't survive on their own. A lot of the testimony came in talking about Charter in February of 2018. He was talking about nobody wants Wi-Fi connections. He's trying to downplay, whatever type of network deal there was going to be there. Anyways, John did not want Deutsche Telekom emails to be put up in public. He said they were very sensitive business-wise. I think the judge mentioned that Dish was initially opposed to the merger when talking about the current T-Mobile and Sprint merger. He pulled up a T-Mobile comment that was taken at the time. John, as well as other executives, said Dish was not a credible company. They were failing to deploy spectrum. They were basically a pain in the backside of the FCC. So they pulled out old comments that John, when he spoke about, Dish and how they weren't credible. Now they're on the side of T-Mobile, right, trying to get this merger done. John also spoke about the FCC's lack of spectrum availability and saying that pretty much this was the best option for T-Mobile to get the synergies and the spectrum allocations was the best option for both companies. In terms of pricing, John said, hey, we could lower them with this merger, and the judge said there's no mention of any of this in your regulations and your agreement with the FCC, so you could raise them. What's holding you back from doing that? And John said that's not part of the regulations and the agreement. So I thought that was kind of funny. National network questions. I think specifically what was being asked here was, certain markets. T-Mobile has lacking coverage, and others they have good ones. John admitted to that. He said, what are you going to do? They're building out their network all the time. He wanted to and also the judge wanted to kind of investigate Dish's prospects as a standalone network and T-Mobile's thoughts on Dish. So that's going to be something that continues moving forward into next week with Charlie Ergen. Mike Cesar came on after. He simply stated that he wanted to take the Un-carrier to the next level. He explained the home broadband situation, how they wanted to disrupt that business sector. Murad kind of was bored at this. They described him as being tired, kind of like nodding off and being bored, as Mike Cesar spoke in corporate language and using certain terminology that was boring. Cesar seemed to try to pretend to be excited about it, but nobody else really was. Something interesting that happened to Mike Cesar. He was questioned about his Un-carrier chops. Would he become similar to what we see with Verizon and AT&T? Thought that was interesting. They kind of looked at his personality like, hey, you're going to be succeeding a guy who is a maverick in the business. Next came up was Neville Ray, the CTO, the network guy of T-Mobile. What are they going to do with the Sprint sites post-merger? And he said they're going to keep the best ones, meet the demands of the company to make the best network. They're going to decommission the rest that they don't need, offer to sell them to Dish. He says that would help them, save years of work and build out. And he did mention they are not just useless cell sites. They are in key metropolitan areas. Just the redundancy, I think, is what he was highlighting. Then they had a discussion between Judge Marrero and Neville Ray. They talked about like this freeway, highway, lanes of traffic analogy. They both kind of seem to be on that same place there. We learned quite a bit, actually. We learned a lot today about the internal MVNO discussions with the carriers. Comcast testified, Xfinity Mobile, how they chose Verizon over Sprint because of, network performance. It turns out that Xfinity actually pays for access on the Verizon network per gigabyte. Thought that was interesting, which explains why they have that 20 gig soft cap. Then you got that really extreme slowdown. A deal with Sprint actually would have given Sprint reciprocal access to hotspots through Comcast Xfinity to their network. This is proof that I think Sprint's network is deficient, and it would have been used to kind of plug their gaps and their coverage holes in their network. They also talked about the Dish and T-Mobile merger that could have possibly happened dating back to 2015. I think this is an indicator that T-Mobile realized that they could not compete with AT&T and Verizon as is in an organic fashion. I think at this point, even the judge probably realizes they're too far behind. They're too far behind in market share. They're too far behind in network capacity and size, services, and even profitability. Like nobody can compete with what AT&T and Verizon have for an ARPU. So we learned quite a bit today. T-Mobile also spoke specifically, the representatives, the Un-carrier was all promotional, not sustainable business practice. They said the same thing about Sprint. You just got to make money, and you can't, give away services at a discount rate and then sustain in the long term. Anyways, those were all the things there. Charlie Ergen's next. I'm hearing reports that investors are very skeptical on the merger. I don't understand why. I'm telling you guys, I've yet to hear or see any evidence from the states that indicate that this is antitrust or anti-competitive based on the grounds that they are claiming and based on the fact that the FCC and the DOJ have approved this merger. Nothing has happened that is going to overturn any type of clearance or approval by the DOJ and FCC. There's nothing there that could change anything. I'm telling you guys, I've been following this since the very beginning. I've seen all the details. I can't read the mind of a judge, but there's no precedence of this type of a case getting overturned after the DOJ and the FCC is approved. And like I said, there's no piece of incriminating evidence that changes it or does anything otherwise. So in my opinion, I don't understand why the investors are skeptical on the merger. I don't know why they've gone from 85 to 55% in likelihood of the merger being cleared. I just don't see it. And I'm not, like I said, look, there's parts of the merger I like and there's parts I don't like. I'm really skeptical on Dish and Charlie Ergen. I would love to see that, be renegotiated and rebuilt and reassembled. I'd love to see a different company and not Charlie Ergen get involved. But honestly, even till now, through all of this, I just don't see what they're talking about that makes them skeptics and having this overturned. I just don't. What say you? You guys give me your comments, your thoughts, your opinions on any of the topics I discussed here. Please, by all means, if you appreciated this update, hit that like button and share it to your favorite social media. I think I'll leave it at that. We do have the live stream tonight. We might be on a little bit later, but looking forward to that. Check us out there. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button and bell notify yourself so you never miss an upload from the SMT. That's it for this one. I hope you guys have a great rest of the day. We'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.